Life often throws us challenges that seem impossible to overcome. In those moments, many believe brute strength and hard work are the only paths to success. But what if there's another way? What if success isn't about working harder, but about working smarter? Today, we bring you the tale of Edwin, a young apprentice who was called lazy by everyone around him, until he proved them all wrong. This story will show you how clever thinking and determination can outshine even the strongest of arms. So sit back, listen closely, and discover the life lessons hidden in Edwin's journey. Once upon a time, in a bustling village known for its skilled craftsmen, there lived a young apprentice named Edwin. Edwin worked in the blacksmith's forge but had earned himself a reputation, not for his skill, but for his laziness. Instead of sweating over hot iron like the others, Edwin would often be found sitting in the shade, tinkering with tools or lost in thought. People whispered behind his back, calling him the laziest apprentice in the village. But Edwin had a secret. While he disliked hard labor, he loved solving problems and finding clever ways to make his life easier. His master, the stern and hardworking Olaf, often said, "Edwin, if only you'd put your wits to good use, you might surprise us all." But Edwin would just smile and carry on. One day, a royal messenger arrived in the village square with exciting news. The king was hosting a grand competition to find the most resourceful craftsman in the land. The challenges would test strength, skill, and wit, and the winner would earn a chest of gold and the title of royal artisan. The villagers murmured among themselves, their voices filled with skepticism. "Only the best blacksmiths will stand a chance," one said confidently. Another scoffed, "No lazy apprentice like Edwin would dare join." Their laughter rippled through the crowd, but Edwin stood unfazed, a small smile playing on his lips. But Edwin, hearing the prize, thought to himself, "Perhaps wit is all I'll need." Against his master's protests, he signed up for the competition and set off for the castle. When Edwin arrived at the competition grounds, the air buzzed with energy. Contestants, strong and confident, gathered around a row of heavy iron blocks glinting under the sun. The king's steward stepped forward to announce the challenge. "Your task is simple. Move this block of iron to the finish line at the far end of the field. You may use any of the tools provided. The fastest to complete the task will advance." The iron blocks were massive and unwieldy, and the tools provided seemed basic: forges, tongs, hammers, anvils, and other blacksmith essentials. As the steward signaled for the challenge to begin, the contestants rushed forward. Some tried to push their blocks, their muscles straining as the blocks barely budged. Others attempted to drag them, the weight gouging deep ruts into the ground. But Edwin stood back, watching the chaos unfold. His eyes darted from the iron block to the tools and then to the glowing forge. Slowly, a sly smile formed on his face. While the others wasted their energy, Edwin got to work with precision and focus. He heated his iron block in the forge until it glowed red hot, the metal softening just enough to shape. Using tongs and a hammer, he began methodically pounding the edges, smoothing the corners. Bit by bit, he transformed the block into a rough sphere. It didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to roll. Other contestants paused to stare as Edwin rolled his newly shaped iron ball out of the forge and onto the course. With each push, the ball gained momentum, gliding forward with ease over the flat ground. While the other contestants struggled to drag their blocks inch by inch, Edwin rolled his ball effortlessly across the field, crossing the finish line far ahead of the rest. The crowd erupted into cheers and murmurs of disbelief. "How did he come up with that?" someone asked. Edwin wiped the sweat from his brow and smiled. Sometimes, the easiest way forward is to change the problem itself. You don't have to carry a burden when you can let it move itself. As the steward declared Edwin the winner of the first challenge, the other contestants stood in awe. Strength alone hadn't won the day. Wit and creativity had triumphed. The second challenge was announced the next morning. Each contestant was tasked with forging the strongest sword, one that would be tested for both durability and sharpness. The forges roared to life as contestants hammered glowing slabs of iron, their faces etched with determination. Sparks flew as they poured their strength into crafting heavy, solid blades that looked indestructible. Edwin, however, didn't rush. He stood quietly at his workbench, thinking deeply. He remembered something his master once told him. A blade's strength doesn't just come from its weight. It comes from its balance and its core. Inspired by this wisdom, Edwin devised a plan. Instead of using a single piece of iron, he combined two different metals, one lightweight for flexibility and another harder one for durability. Layer by layer, he fused them together, creating a blade that was both strong and light. When it came time to test the swords, the judges put them through rigorous trials. Heavy blows were struck, attempting to break them, and their sharpness was tested on the toughest materials. While many swords chipped or bent under pressure, Edwin's blade remained intact, slicing effortlessly through the obstacles. The judges were astonished. "This blade is unlike anything we've seen. How did you create such strength without the weight?" Edwin smiled and said, "A strong sword doesn't need to be heavy. It needs to be smartly made. The strength lies in the harmony of its parts." The crowd erupted in applause, the earlier doubts about Edwin replaced with awe. At the end of the competition, the king himself approached Edwin. "You have shown not only skill, but wisdom beyond your years. You are the kind of craftsman this kingdom needs." The crowd erupted in cheers as Edwin was crowned the royal artisan. But what mattered most to Edwin wasn't the gold or the title. It was proving that wit and perseverance could overcome even the toughest challenges. From that day forward, Edwin was no longer known as the lazy apprentice, but as a clever and resourceful craftsman. He taught others to think beyond brute strength, inspiring them to use their minds and creativity to solve problems. This story reminds us that success isn't about working the hardest. It's about working the smartest. No matter how daunting a challenge, there's always a way forward if you use your mind. So the next time you face an obstacle, think like Edwin. You might just surprise yourself. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire and entertain.